Welcome back, guys. This is Kimberly Graham, your co-host of the Affluent Marriage Podcast, and we're so excited to have you here for the continuation of our previous episode. Before we get started, I want to make sure that you guys know that you can follow us and converse with us at the Affluent Marriage Pod on Instagram. That's where you can find us to connect with us, like our content, share our content, any of those types of things, but we also want to hear your stories there as well. So excited for the new stuff that you're going to learn from today's episode, and without further ado, let's get back to the show. But I want to go back to something that we didn't really say beforehand. This all hinges on the other spouse admitting, I don't even want to say admitting, but consenting to having the conversation. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later, about what happens if we're not.
I'm assuming that we've created
consenting.
a safe place.
I'm assuming we've created, or that there's at least an inkling of a safe place, that we've at least started to create that process.
Yeah, I don't know how you could even begin to have this process if you're talking to a brick wall. And I know some people might be feeling that way, but if there's communication, means it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Right? If you're experiencing a one-way road right now, it's not really communication. You're just talking at somebody. You're not talking to somebody. That's not really what we're speaking to right now. We're speaking with the concept, with the idea, the notion that you are speaking with someone, to someone, and there's a response.
Right? So there might be a stubborn response where they're like, yeah, but I don't really see the reason behind it. And that's where these tips could be helpful.
We do have suggestions later on for that.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm assuming that you've created a safe place in this open communication, and you're focusing on shared goals.
Okay.
All right. Something else you can do when you're sharing those goals is talk to your own personal experience, right? You can share your own experiences and lessons learned. Like you talked about touching a hot stove. I mean, you could also talk about your own life lessons that you learned from managing your finances. Like, dude, I'm not perfect. I made mistakes too. I messed up. Like, check this out. I did this one time. I was an idiot, but what I learned was this, right? Sharing your own personal anecdotes can be powerful in helping others understand the benefits of changing their own personal financial habits.
Right. Exactly. And helping them understand they're not alone, which I think is a huge thing, because that's the thing I think with a lot of finances, is that if you've never been given the experience or the example growing up or around you of people who are good with their money, because they didn't talk about it, maybe you didn't know, but deep down you were like, is this something that only I experience? You would never know unless someone else said it. So like, even on the opposite end, the whole time that we were understanding our finances more and, you know, we were teaching, I thought that everyone went through what we went through, that everyone got out of debt or had really good credit, and that everyone just kind of understood their money, and that I was the one who was just behind. And when I finally understood it, I was like, oh, now I'm like everybody else. Everybody understands their money. And then when I got to, again, my business, and I started talking to other business owners, that's when my eyes were opened like ridiculously wide, and I saw the destruction that happens in a lot of people's lives. And that's when I recognized, oh, we're an anomaly. We're quite weird in very many ways. So
I want to say this because I feel like a lot of people listening might have this common mistake going through their mind right now, and I want to just talk to this before we go any further. Some of you are listening and we're talking about communication with your partner and stubbornness, and in your mind, whether you admit it or not, you see yourself as the hero and your partner is like the villain. They're the stubborn one, and they're the one that's wrong, and they're the one that needs changed, and I'm the one that's right. Like, you're experiencing this like, oh yes, you're right, they're so stubborn, they just don't get it, and I just want them to change. And like, why are they like, what if I just wish they'd be more like me, or I wish they'd be like, our goal here is not for you to communicate with your spouse and make them more like you. Maybe you need to be more like your spouse. I don't want you to completely change who they are at their core. We just want you to communicate. I want you to hear your spouse's perspective. I want you to hear what makes them tick, why they do what they do. I want you to receive that information and try to chew on it and understand it, and then tell them your side. And I want you guys to come together, and eventually we'll talk about this, but compromise.
Yeah.
A little bit of what they do, a little bit of what you do. All right. Our goal here is not to change your spouse to turn them into you.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to turn Kim into Dan 2.0. If I wanted to marry myself, I would have done that.
If that was possible.
If it was possible. I mean, I do love myself. I love me some myself, but I love you.
I love you too.
And I married Kim for a reason, and I want to be a part of Kim's world. So I want to hear your perspective and your goals and what you want to accomplish, and I want to chase after them with you.
Right.
I'm not just trying to turn you into somebody who sits at home all day and plays video games.
He would love that secretly.
Dang, I kind of would. But I want people to know that. Like, that's not the goal of this podcast right here.
Right.
I want you to communicate, and I want you guys to have that two-way street.
Right. It goes back to our main, like our thing, our tagline, still live in love, walk in wealth. You're living together. You're understanding each other's perspective. I always think of a yin and yang. Like, it's okay that you're not carbon copies of each other. We're not expecting you to be. It's communication and compromise. It's give and take. It's marriage. Like, literally, we do this in so many other different areas of our life, and parenting, and, purchasing a home, and buying a car, and how we decorate. Like, there's compromise everywhere. Why wouldn't it happen here as well? So yeah, we're not trying to ask you to make a carbon copy of yourself. That was good, babe.
Thank you. So we've given you a few suggestions so far, right? Have open communication, listen actively, talk about shared goals. Our next suggestion is to provide information and resources. So it might be that you know your partner best, okay? It might be that if you present information and resources to your partner, they might be like, no, no.
Yeah.
Or it might be that you know your partner and they don't see you as an authority in a budgeting space. So maybe they would be more receptive to it and be like, you know what? I probably wouldn't listen to what you have to say about money because I've seen the way you use your money. But you say that this person, this man, this woman is a financial guru. They have this book, they have this class, this course, this whatever. Yes, I'll check that out. I'm not going to check out your philosophies on money.
Yes.
Because I've seen what that's done for you.
Right.
Which, is hurtful, but you have to know your partner.
Yeah.
So providing information and resources, offer educational materials, books, articles, reputable websites that provide information on personal finance, budgeting, saving. Presenting them with those sources or information could help them consider their perspectives and maybe open their eyes to different ways of managing their finances.
Right. And you have to think, again, what types of things are they already interested in, right? So, I mean, I was talking to a person who really loves fixing things. So giving them a resource that is along the same lines of like fixing things mechanically, but also has to do with wealth building might be something that, oh yeah, I'm more attuned to thinking about that because it has interests that I enjoy. You can connect wealth building to pretty much anything. So if you can find some type of resource that gives them the understanding of what's happening in finances while also helping them understand more about the craft that they enjoy or the things they're passionate about, you're more likely to get their feedback on something that's exciting.
Right. I know that you've had clients that are, their spouses are more excited about like the investing portion than the budget. So maybe like find a resource that is all about budgeting and investing.
Why they are important together.
Or maybe it's budgeting and real estate or budgeting and passive income or, like whatever it is their end goal, like what they'd like to get to, budgeting to vacation. I don't know, like whatever it is that gets them excited and motivated, like find a resource that kind of aligns with their perspective, with their point of view.
Yeah.
Because then they're getting a little bit of that financial discipline and they're getting a little bit of what they like.
Right. Exactly. And that's one way to like keep them on the same track and keep them motivated, especially if you're like, or keep them disciplined as you're going on your journey.
The first word you used was better.
Motivated. As you're able to go through the journey, you're able to give them some resources and you yourself to keep yourself focused and like, this is what we want to be able to do. So that's a good tip too. I love all sorts of resources. My favorite is reading different types of books. We actually had a listener who said that she would love to have a resource of all the books that we've read and
coming to an Instagram post near you. I can put that out there.
Yes. So, so keep looking out for that because we've read a lot of different resources that have spoken to us in so many different ways that we're able to use some of this information to guide and drive some of our next goals that we have in our future.
I mean, even I just think about the resources that we've read, and we'll talk about it on Instagram and other podcasts, but we're stubborn about our goals, but we change our methods all the time.
All the time.
And I don't mean that in a way where it's like we change so much that it's not useful, but we're always trying to find what works best. And if something doesn't work, obviously we're not going to do it. But we're not so stuck in our ways that we're like, nope, we only use the cash envelope system, or nope,
right,
we only do budgeting apps, or nope, we've done it all.
We have continued to shift and change what makes sense for what we want it to look like. If I'm like, oh no, you know what, I really don't like the cash envelopes, like I'm starting to get really annoyed with how much cash is everywhere. I constantly find $20 bills everywhere and I don't know what they're for. Can we make some shifts? I think we have way too much money, in these envelopes. Can we make them less, or can we do something else with them? Like, we're constantly refining what makes sense. And that's what it's supposed to look like, because you're constantly evolving. Therefore, the way that you're conversing about money should evolve as well.
So you got to know your spouse. You have to communicate with your spouse to know your spouse. And if you think that providing professional resources and information would be helpful for them, then do it.
Then do it. Do it.
Right.
Listening to this podcast could be a resource that allows you to have these better, more robust conversations with finances.
And I'll tell you what, you could find an article on anybody talking about money. Mm-hmm. You could find their favorite athlete. You could find their favorite celebrity. I'm sure there's an article or some quote out there where they talked about how they got to where they are, mm-hmm. and how they worked hard to get to where they are. And just be like, hey babe, check out this article from your favorite person. Mm-hmm. Look at what they did. This is so cool. I didn't know this about them in their life. Mm-hmm. Right. And then, maybe use that as a talking point.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I just saw
everyone has a story.
I just saw that article with Gabrielle Union talking about how she's not getting as many acting jobs with the change in Hollywood at the moment, with a lot of things going to social media and all that stuff. And so she was just talking about how she has money anxiety. With the millions of dollars she makes, she has money anxiety. Why? Because her and her hubs split everything 50-50. And if she's not making as much, she's worried she's not going to be able to pay her part of the bill. And she's a multi-millionaire. I just feel like that, if that doesn't share with you that money management is something that's so valuable, and it's not the money, it's your mindset, it's how you're managing it, it's how you're saving, that if that doesn't share it with you. So I've shared that with a lot of people, especially who have that argument. But there's so many different things out there of people who have shown how they've been able to get wealthy, different perspectives, mindsets, all that stuff, to help you recognize, one, you're not alone. Two, you're not the only person who's ever gone through this. Therefore, if they got out, you can get out too. And I don't know, any type of outcome you want to see, you can find a piece of article on it.
I agree.
That's it.
Our next suggestion, and I feel like you say this a lot to your clients, mm-hmm. but our next suggestion is lead by example.
Yeah. It's really sometimes super depressing to hear some of my clients talk about how they can't, or how their spouse will not come to the table, that it's just not something that they want to be able to do. And it creates a space of animosity and tension. And the person who I'm working with is doing all that she can to do the very best that she can to get them from point A to point B. And just like we talk about that oxen or in one of our earlier episodes, it's literally like pulling and dragging, not just her, but, or, not just trying her family, but also her husband and also the other dreams and goals they have. And it feels like it's all on her shoulders because the spouse is not willing to come to the table at all. And it can be so heartbreaking to hear that. So in those moments, you gotta lead by example. You gotta lead by example.
So I remember the first time I was reading through Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, I read this passage and I was like, man, like maybe this would be good for Kim, because I feel like you deal with this a lot. But we also see, there's so many married couples that we know where it's just like one partner is stubborn about one thing and the other partner is stubborn about another. And that's important too. It's not just like there's just one stubborn person. Like, everyone's got their own stubbornness with their own things that they're, unwilling to change about themselves. But I remember reading this, and I'm going to read it to you guys. It says, they were talking to Harv Eker, and they were saying, what do I do if I'm positive and I want to grow, but my spouse is the downer? Do I leave them? Do I try to get them to change? Like what if the people I'm closest to aren't into personal growth or even put me down for it? And Harv responds, look, first of all, don't even bother trying to get negative people to change or come to, he was talking about his course, right? That's not your job. Your job is to use what you've learned to better yourself and your life. Be the model, be successful, be happy, and then maybe, and he stresses maybe, they'll see the light in you and want some of it, right? Again, energy is contagious, he says. Darkness dissipates in light. People actually have to work hard to stay in the dark when the light is all around them. So your job is simply to be the best you can be. Lead by example.
And this can be really difficult because for some clients, it could be, for some people listening, it could be that you say, okay, well, I'm just going to work with my income and I'm going to do the best with my income. I don't want it to be that way, but you're not wanting to be a team player, right? Or it could be that you're like, let me handle it. This is not how I want it to be. I want you to come to the table. I will give you every opportunity to come to the table, but you have to then, I don't like putting rules on you, so to speak, but I want us to be successful. And again, I'm going to put my hand out consistently to bring you to the table to talk about it. And I'm trying my best, but you have to see the light for yourself. But again, you cannot create or make or force change out of another person. It's not possible. And it's, again, heartbreaking because unfortunately, I've seen a lot of those types of situations turn into we're not together anymore because we just couldn't get it down. Like we could not communicate about this and it bled into every other part of our lives. And it's like a virus.
And I hate that. I hate those stories.
I hate those stories.
The goal for me in this podcast really is just to bring wisdom and clarity to people and help them see that wherever they're at in their relationship, in their marriage, right? Like there's hope. There's hope,
right?
There's a light. And we give these suggestions and these ideas because we want to provide hope to marriages that are quite literally feeling hopeless and at the end of their rope. So I'm just trying to do my part. But you might have to take initiative and create a budget for yourself.
Right.
You might have to show your spouse, show your husband, your wife, the benefits of practicing good financial habits, right? Show them the positive outcomes. Show them how it reduces stress in your life. Show them how it's building your savings. Show them your improved financial security. You have to lead by example.
Yeah. And it's even more heartbreaking sometimes when I see that one spouse is doing super well with their finances and the other spouse maybe isn't doing as great if they've chosen to be separate with their finances. But then there's this huge divide because now there's trust that has been broken. And now one spouse is like, okay, I'm ready. I'm going to do it. but I'm even scared to talk to my spouse about how to manage my money. Like, there's such a tension and an awkwardness. It's as if you're talking to a stranger to be like, so I feel really like I don't know how to manage it and I want to do better. Can you help me? And then there's a level of pride sometimes with the other person to be like, no, I made this happen for me. You make it happen for you. And it's like, there are so many of those situations where I'm like, this is not how you build a strong, long-lasting, successful, wealthy marriage. That is not living in love and walking in wealth. You have like, oh my goodness. So there's a lot of like, I love the idea of leading by example. And I hope, like our hope for that is that you lead by example and it's just, and then they come alongside and you're able to flourish. My hope is that even if you have to do the separate route for a little bit, that you still remain connected to that other person to say, listen, I want you at the table. I want you here with me. I want you here talking. This is not just for me. This is for us. Like I'm hoping that that's the thing that you'll continue to do instead of just blocking them off completely because you are frustrated.
Hey, this is Kim Graham from the Affluent Marriage Podcast. We hope you're enjoying what you're listening to so far. But if you're thinking to yourself, man, I wish I knew more about what's going on in Kim and Dan's world, I want to ask some specific questions and be able to get extra resources, well, you might want to think about joining the Graham fam.
Now, I know I love exclusive content and I love having more of Kim in my life. And if that's something you're interested in, you can be a subscriber and you can get exclusive episodes that no one else is going to hear that's going to help you build generational wealth and have more authentic two-way communication.
Links are down in the show description. You'll be able to click and see more information about Graham Fam, and we hope to see you behind the scenes. Have a great one, and let's get back to the show.
Right. I don't picture leading by example as the same as like cutting someone off and being independent.
Yeah.
Right. If you're leading and you look back and no one's following you, then you're
just alone.
You're just alone. You're not really leading.
Right.
Right. So lead by example, I don't envision that as cutting someone off. I feel like you are bringing them a part of the, hey babe, look, like check our savings out, babe. Like, wow.
Like
this
get
is
excited
exciting
about it. Yeah.
Bring them a part of the process. Bring them in.
Yeah. Share the light part with them. Share the excitement, because then if there's more wins and positivity with the finances, there's more likelihood that the person will say, okay, hold on. Wait, how is all of this happening? I need you to talk to me about this, right? So maybe that's another podcast we do about like how to bring light into a dark room when it comes to finances. I don't know. Like there's so much there that's interesting to work through.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
So all of these are recommendations or suggestions, things that could help. If we're assuming that you have this open communication and you've established this safe place and you've shared your goals, another suggestion that we have for you is collaborating on a compromise, right? It's not just you trying to get your spouse to come to the light side, to come to the dark side, to come to whatever side. There is no sides. I was thinking Star Wars there.
I know.
There are no sides. It's just you're both in that shade of gray. You're there together, all right? All 50 shades of it.
All 50 shades.
And you need to come to a compromise, right? I love that you talked about like imposing a strict budget on your partner, right? It's not like that.
No.
You're both adults. You're both grown people. You didn't marry a child, even though they might act like a child and spend like a child. You married a grown woman or a grown man. You need to, instead of imposing a strict budget, try to find a compromise that works for both of you, not a compromise that only benefits you and your desire to go on vacation, or your desire to go golfing, or your desire to buy clothes or buy a car, right? Not just a compromise that benefits you, both of you, right? It could involve setting spending limits, allocating specific amounts for discretionary expenses, agreeing on regular check-ins to review and adjust the budget together. Whatever it is, come together, collaborate, talk together, communicate, and come up with a compromise that works for both parties in all 50 shades.
And it doesn't mean that you can't ever refine, right? Because we said regular check-ins or whatever. But it doesn't mean you can't ever refine, because if you're able to meet and compromise on something that's very broad with your finances, then as new things arise and as you kind of have more conversations, you can say, well, what if we try? What if we do? What if we... Then you start to refine and you're starting to converse about what makes sense for you both. And so that might be a good way to start the process for you.
We've done this all year long, actually. Like with our goals, we've had compromise. We've compromised the timeline multiple times. We've multiple times. We've compromised on the order. Right? We had to decide, you know what, in order of priority, what makes sense. Not everyone probably would have put the minivan.
We've talked about this several times.
Before the rental. In terms of, well, the rental's going to bring in passive income. And if you do that first, you're making money, and then you can use that money to do other things, right?
Yep.
Some people wouldn't have put the vacation last. Then be like, shoot, I need that first.
Yep. I'm honest.
You need to show me that end result, that end goal. Let me feel that. And when it feels good, I'll be like, I want more of this. So I will work to get more of that vacation, right? Everyone has different priorities. And we did too. And we had to talk and collaborate and compromise and say, okay, we did this on the way home from South Carolina.
We did.
I was like, babe, put those in order for me. What number 1 through 5 of these goals? Like, which one is the highest priority to you? Which one was it? Was it the vacation?
I think for me, it was vacation.
And for me,
honestly,
it was passive
that's
income.
the carrot dangling in front of my face.
That's why we put it in December.
That's why I put it in December, because I'm excited, because when I get in December and I walk onto that vessel, which I'm not going to say because I don't know if my girls are still awake.
They better be asleep.
They better be. I hope it's 10 o'clock. But when I walk on there, it's going to be a moment of hallelujah. We did it. We did all the things. Like, give me a drink. I will toast.
What a great way to end the year,
like,
too.
I want to completely unwind and not think about jack squat, right? Because we have had an insane year of ups, downs, excitements, like check boxes, all that stuff, right? So like, to me, that's the carrot dangling in front of me. That's how I'm motivated. You like that?
I love that.
To stay disciplined.
The song that I had playing in my head while you were saying that was like R. Kelly, The World's Greatest.
Yeah. I'm not star up in the sky. That's me.
Just having my moment. Like I'm on the
rolling
boat,
on.
Sitting
Yep.
there.
Just
the world's greatest.
Yes, 100%. Hey, I made it. I'm the world's greatest. Literally. Like that is, I don't want that theme song. I don't know what theme song it's going to be.
That's just what's going through my head.
I'm just saying, like, that's the carrot dangling in front of my face. You might not care about that.
But that's collaboration.
Right.
We talk. The point is, we collaborated, we talked, we put those things in order of priority for each of us. We listened to each other, and we put it to a timeline. And even that can be compromised, right?
Oh yeah, always.
Because, like you said, we decided to pull the trigger on the minivan in June, but we very easily could have said, you know what, we can wait till November.
We very easily could have done that. We very easily could have said, like, right now, I'm not in any rush. No, I shouldn't say that. I am in a rush. I do want to get in the rental. I do want to get into another space. Absolutely. But I'm not in a rush that I'm going to compromise time with my family this summer to be like, you know what I mean?
Because here's the truth. And you
do that.
You put me on this expression, this saying, this quote. The truth is, there's no one what?
There's no one chasing you.
There's no one chasing us. Why? What's wrong with the space other than that we think, this 2-bed, 2-bath it's a little tight, but
it's a little tight.
There's no one chasing us.
There's no one chasing us.
There's no one saying you have to be out by this date. You have to buy this van by this date. You have to do this by then. There's no one chasing us.
Nope.
We can do things whenever we want.
Chasing us.
If we want to push all the rest of these goals off to 2024,
we could do that.
Do we want to? No.
But we could We've done it before. We could do it again. Like, it's not going to be the end of the world if we did that. In fact, this is a safe place. We love our area. Mortgage is like very, very, very close to being done if we wanted it to be done. Like, what's not to love? Like, it's a great space to be here, right? Our friends love our place. Like, there's nothing wrong with our space. And
close to work, close to family.
It's a beautiful space to be, to know that nobody is pushing you to get to the next place. The only person who is saying, hey, you should do this is you. Like, it's just you versus you. That's it. And that's kind of how I love it to be for any of our goals coming up. We choose to work as hard as we want to work. And that's what happens when you don't have bills or debt or anything else chasing you.
I love it.
We kind of got a little off. I think I want to talk about this last part.
You say off, but I don't think it's ever off.
I think it just goes off a little bit because we just kind of like get passionate about a situation. Okay. So this last part is, I kind of feel like you should have swapped the last one, because this one is really one I want to like key in, but whatever. We've talked about this several times. Therapy is a beautiful thing. And when it comes to marriages, when it comes to communication, when it comes to understanding finances, seeking professional help might be the route. I am thinking of several couples that I have worked with, again, working with the female of the marriage, and then having the spouse come in, and the spouse has some serious tendencies where they don't want to be on screen. They don't want to talk to me. They don't want to talk about money. They don't want to do anything with it. And they say, yeah, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That type of attitude. But then when there is a routine or something that is brought to the table, there's a lot of, I don't want to, you're imposing, I don't want to do this. And there's a lot of blow-ups, right? This is from several clients, okay? And the thing that the kind of determine the relationship, if you want to call it the DTR, the real life thing that I hate really having talked to these spouses about is like, this might be over and above money. This has nothing to do with money. It has to do with control, and it has to do with how much control they have, because the idea that I want to be able to do whatever I want with my money, and why is it that we don't have any money in the savings account, are two very polar opposite views. And it seems that person does not see that they are both quite related, and that if you stop spending as much as you do, you would have more money in the bank account. But when that's not connecting, and the only person that they can blame is the person who's attempting to make shifts and create a budget and handle money management, and they only blame you, financial abuse is a real thing, okay? If that person is trying to move money to other accounts, force you to stay home, tell you you're not doing anything with the money, it's your fault we're in this predicament, we don't need any other support, you just need to stop spending, when you seem to be the butt of all the jokes and of all the issues that are happening with your finances, and they're not willing to look within, I need you to understand that it has nothing to do with you at that point. You are now just basically a punching bag, like psychologically, and you need to understand and release that has nothing to do with you. There is something going on within that person that they need to go seek professional help to decipher through. Something with their background, something with the way that they were brought up, something in their own experiences with finances that has brought them to this point that they have no room and have no drive to compromise or talk about it with you. And I just think for anyone who's listening out there, if that is the situation you're in and you're feeling like I am trying everything I possibly can and I am literally talking to a brick wall, it is time to consider professional help for yourself, to get yourself prepped and like, okay, and then I need to figure out how to lead. How do I get stronger in leading myself if my spouse is not willing to come to the table? I was going to say come to the altar. But also, it might be an opportunity for you both to either go to marriage counseling to talk about communication, or for that person to go to therapy to work out whatever issues they have. This is a conversation I hate having with clients because it is so heartbreaking that between our relationship, we have done everything that we can to help bring spouse on board and to help the spouse I'm working with do the best she can with whatever the finances are. And there's still this brick wall with communication. And that would be probably more often than not the step that needs to be taken.
I feel like society views therapy and counseling as like this last resort, or like this is the final straw. And if we try this and it doesn't work, then there's no hope. Like if they can't help us, nobody can. Like I feel like it's viewed that way. And I don't think therapy should be, or counseling should be, the last resort. I think it's just something, when you experience a problem, it's like, oh, we should go talk to somebody about this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a friend. Maybe it's a mentor. Maybe it's an advisor. Maybe it's a therapist. Maybe it's a counselor. But when issues arise in your marriage, in your finances, go talk to somebody.
You gotta fight.
Don't
not like fight
Jim
with each
and
other.
Pam.
I don't. Yes.
I want to go home and fight.
I want to go home and fight.
But
I want to work it out.
My point is, don't wait until the house is basically burning down to call the fire department. Right? When you start to smell smoke, give a call. Right? So don't view it as a last resort. If you feel like you need to seek professional help, you smell the smoke, then go call someone. Why not? Why not ask for a little bit of help? We're definitely here for it.
Yep.
We're all about it. We've done it. And we've seen the difference. I also want to say, be supportive for your partner, right? Offer support. Let them know that you're here with them going through this process of change with financial management and budgeting. You're going to change too. It's not just me trying to change you. Like, we're trying to change ourselves. So offer assistance. Like, hey, I'll sit down with you. I will struggle with you with this budget. I'll struggle with you exploring money management tools and budgeting apps and all the different systems. Like, I will sit down with you and find financial advisors, speak with them, talk with them, make informed decisions. Like, we will do this together, hand in hand. We're going to go through this together. Offer that support, right? It's not me versus you or you versus me.
We're a team.
It's us
against the world.
Against the world.
No, but like, you're a team. And that's exactly what you would see on the field if you're watching football, right? I got your back. You got mine.
But with any safe space, you got to set boundaries and say, you know what? When things start to get elevated and you feel that tension rise, have a stopping point. Just be like, you know what? Let's take a break.
It's not happening today.
Let's take a break for a second.
Yep. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Nobody's chasing you. It's very true, right? Nobody's chasing you. You have time to figure out what you want to be able to do next, what you want to be able to resolve. So have that respect for each other and recognize that you are both in this together. You're a team.
One last suggestion before we wrap this up and bring this home is automation. Sometimes it can be helpful to automate your finances when possible. If you have someone who's reluctant to engage in the budgeting, explore automation options. Set up automatic transfers to savings accounts, bill payments, other financial obligations. That can help you establish those good financial habits without requiring that active involvement in the day-to-day budgeting tasks. I think
a good one.
It's more common nowadays, but before you'd have to send in checks to pay your bills, or you'd have to go in and actually make those bill payments for your phone and for your utilities and for all those things. But if you set up those automatic transfers, then it's one less thing that you have to worry about.
Yes. And a lot of people...
It reduces stress.
It does reduce stress, especially if you have one account that's specifically for bill payments and it's all automatic and you know what's going out of there. Then you can do a reverse budget and focus on just making sure those bills get paid. And then the rest is just yours to spend, save, and do whatever you'd like. So there's a lot of different options for you out there. make sure that you go back to some of our previous episodes to talk more about the specifics, and join Graham Fam if you'd like to be able to get like a deep dive as to how we do certain things. And feel free to ask us questions on the Affluent Marriage Pod on Instagram, DM us, message us. I guess that's what DM means. Also comment on any of our other things, and we'll definitely get back to you, because we want to make sure that you have everything you need. Remember, Daniel's giving me a cue. It's important to approach the topic with patience, understanding, and empathy. Be willing to listen to your spouse's concerns and perspectives. It may take time for your spouse to come around, so try to maintain a supportive and collaborative approach throughout the process. Changing deeply ingrained behaviors takes time, patience, and therapy. Be respectful of their autonomy and readiness for change. It's ultimately up to them to make the decision to shift their mindset and to approach the finances. So you keep leading by example, and just keep pushing forward.
One more quote before we wrap this up. Harv Eker said when he offers, because he teaches a financial course, he's a motivational speaker and he has a financial course. When I offer my course to people, I find it interesting that it's usually the people who are the most broke who say, I don't need this course.
Yep.
I don't have the time. I don't have the money. But meanwhile, it's the millionaires and the multimillionaires who all register and say, man, if I just learn one more new thing or make this one improvement, man, this course will be worth it.
100%.
Right? Stubborn people have that broke mindset. If you're open to change, you have that growth rich mindset. Right? Do you have an affluent way of thinking, or you have a stubborn way of thinking?
That tells you real quick if you're going to be wealthy or if you're going to be broke.
All right. So
even if you're making more money, you can feel broke.
Hey, like I said earlier, our affluent archive for today is be stubborn about winning. Be flexible with how you win. Be willing to adapt and to change your methods to win. Don't just stick with the same old thing if it ain't working.
Yep.
But be stubborn about your goals. Don't waver from that.
Yes, keep it going. Don't forget, we've been there too. We are literally living through it. So if you are taking anything from this and you're like, why are they talking about all these things? Does it even work? Is it even something that they truly believe in? Yes, because we're literally living right now the idea of being stubborn about winning with our goals, but being flexible in how we get there. And we literally are showing you in real time how we have been flexible about every single decision and method and how we're getting to our desired goal. And you can do the same. Trust the process.
Give me a call to action, babe.
Call to action.
You're good at this.
Y'all, guys, we've talked a lot about stubborn behaviors, and it's kind of been a heavier episode.
Third degree stubborn. It's still not hitting, but it's okay. I want you to find a win, something that you are proud of, that you and your spouse or partner have been able to accomplish. And I want you to bring that up in conversation and just relish, like have a moment where you're just talking about how awesome it was to win at that particular goal. And then use that as a talking point, like use that as a diving point, I guess. That's what I keep thinking of, like a jumping off point. That's the word I'm thinking of, to talk more about what other things do we want to win at? Like, what are the other things we want to be able to succeed at and pursue in our future? And use that as your common ground and just start the conversation. We're not trying to build Rome in a day. We're just trying to start the conversation. Well, guys, we hope that you guys learned at least one thing from this conversation today, and you got some SPF sunscreen, oh my gosh, to protect yourself from these third-degree stubborns. You know what I mean? Maybe it's open communication. Maybe it's active listening. Maybe it's therapy. But one of these things might be your SPF. Hey, I think I did it. I think that's a laugh right there.
Wow.
Third-degree stubborn, man. It's a thing.
That was, you tried.
Thank you. That's all I can do.
You tried.
Guys, thank you so much for listening today. This is the Affluent Marriage Podcast. This is my wife, the financial coach, who's going to change her title one day, Kimberly Graham.
Yeah.
And I am at current the educator, Dan Graham, and host of the Affluent Marriage.
Who's on summer break?
Heyo, just started today. So guys, go live in love, walk in wealth. Take care, y'all.
See you guys later. Up.